every Sunday at noon. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other damn therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka, done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Kris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. There's over 30,000 therapists working for them. I've gotten great feedback from people using them, so thank you. BetterHelp.com/Kris Godinez. Okay. Today's topic, today's current events I want to talk about. So I want to go over the 10th Amendment. You need to know your rights. You need to know what's in the Bill of Rights. You need to understand the Constitution. So the 10th Amendment, and then we're going to talk about current events because I'm concerned about this. Okay. Hello. Thank you. Okay. The 10th Amendment reserves powers not specifically delegated to the federal government nor prohibited to the states respectively, or to the people. In essence, it affirms that the federal government has only the powers explicitly granted to it by the Constitution, and all other powers are retained by the states or the people. So in other words, no president can just march in and declare themselves king. No president can just march in and declare anything without Congress approving of it. So this you need to know. Why? Well, Mary Brownlee, who is a friend of mine, hello, darling. Mary Brownlee, who is a friend of mine, did a great video yesterday about how triggered her clients are because of what's going on in this current administration. And I concur. I agree 110%. All of us are getting re-traumatized and re-triggered by the things that we're seeing happening in this country. So this is why I went over the Bill of Rights. So basically, what's going on, and this is the overall comments from every single last client I have that is a survivor of abuse. Oh my God, it's like I'm trapped in the house again with my abuser and I cannot escape. Seriously, every single client. Do you know how many clients I see? I have well over 100 clients. Every single one of them. Every single one of them, every session is telling me how traumatized they are, how re-traumatized they are, how triggered they are by the violence, by the nastiness, by the gaslighting, by the lying, by the cheating, by the stealing, by the drama, by the chaos. And it reminds them of being trapped in their abuser's house. And the worst part of it is all of them have vocalized to me as well that, okay, when I was a kid and I was trapped in my abuser's house, I told people what was wrong. I told people what I saw. I told people what was going on. Nobody did anything. So that is why trauma survivors are being so re-traumatized and re-victimized and re-triggered by everything that's going on in this country at this time. Make no mistake, Trump is a malignant narcissist. He's a dark triad through and through. Liar, couldn't tell the truth to keep himself alive if he had to. And he is putting this country in danger. So the current event today is that yesterday he decided to call out the National Guard against protesters in California. He's got a beef against California. He doesn't like Governor Newsom for whatever reason. He doesn't like him. And he doesn't like the fact that there have been successful, peaceful protests against ICE that have shamed them into backing away and not putting hoods over people and taking them away without due process. So he's angry. So he's sending out 2,600 troops to shut up First Amendment rights. I want to be very clear about that. And if you don't think that's terrifying to survivors of abuse, how many of us got shut up? How many of us got told to sit down and shut up and not say anything? How many of us got threatened if we told the truth? You want to know why we're re-traumatized and re-triggered? Because of what's going on. Now, Hegseth has also said that he's telling the Marines to stand by. So basically, the government, the federal government, is willing to weaponize our Marines, our National Guard, against our own people for having First Amendment rights. That's a bit of overkill, if you want my personal opinion. And that is exactly what abusers do. If an abuser could simply calm down a situation or defuse a situation, no, they don't. They escalate it. And they look for reasons to punish. That's what our abusers did. My dad, instead of de-escalating, he would find an excuse to hit, to hurt, to harm, to scream at, to devalue, to debase. That is what abusers do. They don't look for a peaceful solution. They get angry when people go up against them. And there are a lot of people going up against them. So I just want to validate what Mary Brownlee said in her video. If you have the chance, I posted it on Facebook. If you have the chance, go watch her video. So she basically was talking about how she froze. She dissociated. Okay, and this is our topic for today. This is the reason why I'm talking about this stuff, guys. She froze. She dissociated. She couldn't deal with what she saw happening because she lived it. You know, she lived it. There's a reason she's a fantastic therapist. It's because, like me, she lived it. We see what's happening. We know what they're doing because it happened to us. And trust me, the past is prologue. The leopard does not change its spots. So when we dissociate, we either do it, well, there's a lot of ways to dissociate. You could dissociate physically, like physical pain doesn't get you. Like one day I shut my hand in the car door and I didn't even feel it. So I was completely checked out, separated from my body, couldn't feel it, okay? So we dissociate physically. That we also dissociate emotionally and mentally. So what Mary was talking about when she said she just couldn't, you know, when she realized that Trump was elected again and that an abuser was going to be in office abusing us all again, she dissociated. She froze. Absolutely. So it's part of our fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Freezing is kind of dissociating. Now, when we were kids, dissociating kept us safe. 110%. It kept us safe without question. So when we are faced with physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, the safest thing we can do as little kids is to check out because that's the only thing we can do. But as an adult, that's dangerous for us. And here's the reason why. When we check out physically, like I slammed my hand in the car door, didn't even feel it, didn't even realize my fingers were stuck until I went to go walk away and I got jerked back. That's pretty far out of my body, seriously. So it's dangerous for us because physically we can get into situations where we get hurt and we don't even feel it. It's dangerous for us emotionally and mentally because if we're not present and dealing with what's going on and we're frozen, then we don't speak up and we don't speak out for ourselves. And we cannot do that as an adult. Now, as a kid, that worked because our abuser threatened to punish us, hurt us, harm us, you know, do whatever they were going to, or hurt our pets or whatever if we spoke up. So as a kid, it makes sense that we did that. As an adult, it doesn't work. And so what I've seen in my clientele, when they are frozen, when they are dissociated, and I finally get them back into the present moment, they were like 2, 3, 4, maybe 6, 8, around in there. So the inner child was running the show because cognitively, think about it. Children do not have the cognitive ability to deal with the adult bull-tinky that we're forced to deal with. We just don't. We don't have the ability to deal with adult emotional and physical abuse. We just don't. And so we check out. So oftentimes when I'm talking to survivors of abuse, they will discuss having been abused. And when they do remember it, they're able to remember it from watching it in the corner of the room. So like literally they just floated right out of their body, didn't feel it, and are watching it like they're watching it happen to somebody else. That's dissociation. Dissociation in an adult is when something happens, like say for example, there's a couple, okay? And they're having an argument or they're having a disagreement and suddenly one member of the couple just completely shuts down. That's dissociation. When they're unable to answer, when they're unable to process, when they're unable to think like an adult. That's dissociation. So basically, it's mindfulness. It is really, really mindfulness. It is making sure that you're with a goddamn good trauma therapist who understands trauma. I get so sick and tired when I hear therapists go, I'm trauma informed. I'm like, no, you're not. Have you been there? Have you done that? And if you, and you don't necessarily have to have been there and done that, but it certainly helps. And the ones that haven't been there and done that, I'm always like, okay, well, who are you studying under? Unless you're studying under Bessel van de Kolk and Dr. Ramani and Frank Anderson, sit down and shut up. Seriously, because I have seen so many bad therapists that did not understand trauma, that did not understand dissociation, give the absolute worst suggestions. I'm just like, you don't know, you are not trauma informed. Do you see where I'm going with that? So there's a big difference between trauma informed and actually having been there, done that. There really is. Now, again, if somebody has done the studying and done the work and worked with those professionals that are trauma informed and do know their a-hole from a hole in the ground, then I'm fine with it. Because you need somebody who's got empathy, who can put themselves in your shoes and understand the level of trauma or re-traumatization that is going on. So most people do not get it. They don't get the level of re-traumatization that is going on. We have a question. I'm going to answer the questions as they pop up because I'm doing this on my phone and I don't have my computer and oh dear Lord. Anyway, all right. How do you find your spiritual faith again after the narc ruins it for you? Oh, there's a huge one. Okay, so part of the abuse that we go through is spiritual abuse. My dad, don't even get me started. He went to every hardcore fundamentalist Christian religion you could possibly find, and he used it against us, and he used it as his excuse to hurt us. They pick and choose, they cherry pick what scriptures they will pull out, and all I can say is good luck with that when you meet your maker. So how do we find our spiritual faith again? It is not easy. It is not easy. It just is not. So what I did is I started exploring other faiths. I did, because I realized that my dad used the Christian religion as an abuse. And I was like, okay, I cannot hang with this, using the Christian religion as abuse. No, thank you. So what can I do? So I started looking at other religions. And then I started noticing the similarities between Christianity and other religions. And then I kind of went, oh, okay, so it doesn't have to be abusive. It depends on who's using it and for what agenda. That's what you need to look at. So I went on my own spiritual journey. I started meditating. I looked into Buddhism. I started noticing the similarities between Buddhist and Christ. And I consider myself a Christian, but I also practice the Buddhist philosophies, because they're good. They make sense. So that is what you do. You start finding out what works for you, because I knew being an atheist was not going to work for me. It just wasn't. I can't believe in nothing. But if you don't believe in nothing, there's so many double negatives in that. If you believe in nothing, that's okay too, as long as you're okay with it. So for me, I couldn't be okay with it. It didn't feel right for me. So that's when I started meditating. That's when I started doing a lot of the Buddhist practices. That's when I started reading the Bible on my own, without any male a-hole trying to tell me what it means. So, and that was a large part of the problem. It was very misogynistic. My dad hated women. He hated his mom. He hated, everything. So, yes, it is common to be a Christian and a Buddhist. Yes, absolutely. That's why I loved Thailand. I loved Thailand. I thought it was great. Anyway, the point being is searching for your spirituality. Spirituality is different from religiosity. That's a big word. Religiosity. So they're two different things. For me, getting back to the dissociating, I would check out when I went to church, because the last time I went to church with my dad was on an Easter Sunday, and the guy took the sermon from, he is risen, to let's go through the anatomically correct way that Christ suffered and died on the cross, and then somehow looped it back to the fact that it was all women's fault and all women need to be subjugated to men because they killed Christ. What the yeah. And I just, checked out. I was like, okay, we're done here. I never set foot into a church again, unless there's a wedding or a funeral. That's the only time I set foot into churches. So yeah, you've got to, and at that point it was like, I need to find what works for me. And what I believe, Christianity and Buddhism and nature. I love nature. You know this. I find my spiritual guidance the loudest when I'm in the ocean swimming, when I'm walking my dogs, when I'm meditating, when I'm, I still believe in God and Jesus and Mother Mary and all the saints and all that good stuff. But I also find ways to explore spirituality. It's not religiosity, it's spiritual, that kind of thing. So you just find what works for you. It doesn't matter what religion it is, or if it's no religion. If yeah, I know Mary killed Christ. It's tortured logic. Let me tell you that. I know Mary was the first evangelist. I know that. You know this. I know this. Apparently, my dad missed the memo. So yeah, but and the preacher missed the memo. But a lot of these sects that communal narcissists are attracted to are cults, and they twist gaslighting the scripture to fit their own personal pathology, if you want my personal opinion. So I think think Jim Jones, a lot of them just twist the Bible and twist whatever. I mean, there's even, believe it or not, there are extremist Buddhists too, which I'm just like, please don't set yourself on fire. That is not good. Don't do that. But yeah, Saint Francis is one of my favorite saints. Saint Michael is another favorite saint. I'm not even Catholic, but yes, you explore and you see what works. And as long as it's on the side of God and goodness and light, and you're not hurting anybody and you're not judging anybody, I really don't care. Find what works for you. Seriously. So try a bunch of stuff. Try meditation. Try yoga. Don't try Hare Krishna. That's a cult. So you know what I'm saying? So it's like you just go and find what works for you. Getting back to dissociation. Sorry, went off on a tangent. Getting back to dissociation. When we're adults, we check out. When things get stressful, we don't even realize it. We're checking out if we haven't worked on the trauma. And it can be with any stress. It can be with a relationship stress. It could be with a work stress. It can be with a national level stress like we have going now. It can be anything, and we're checking out and we're not even aware of it. So the really important thing is mindfulness. This is why DBT therapy is so good for people that have been through abusive relationships, because it's all about mindfulness. Hold on. Question. Does that mean they put us into spiritual psychosis on purpose? Yes, 110%. Absolutely. They do not want us having a higher power, guys. They do not want us having any friends. They do not want us having any family. They do not want us having any heart connection to anybody, including God. They want us dead. Can I just make that very clear? Narcissists ultimately want us dead, and they want us to dissociate because it's easier for them to abuse us. Silence only benefits the abuser. And when we get shut down and we get dissociated, we go silent. We absolutely go radio silence. The lights are on, the engine is running, and we are simply not home. And then that allows them to abuse us in any way, shape, or form they choose. You betcha, sweetheart. You're absolutely 110% right. So thank you for bringing that up. My ex is actually demons talking to me because the narc says so. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They will. Oh, God. Some of the worst child abuse cases I've read about were ones who claimed that the kid had a demon in them. And then they use that as their excuse to smother the kid, beat the kid, starve the kid, whatever. So, yeah, it's all connected. You betcha. So they do not want us having a connection to a higher power, whether that higher power is nature, or that higher power is God, or that higher power is Buddha, or that higher power is yoga, meditation. They do not want us connected. So Jung was very big into the universal collective unconsciousness. So if we're connected, we're not alone. And we can get energy and information practicing our spiritual practices. They don't want that. They want us isolated. They want us alone. They want us scared. And they want us absolutely checked out so that they can do whatever the hell they want. You betcha. So yes, religious abuse is just as bad, if not worse, than physical abuse, because they're trying to disconnect us from the source. Does that make sense? So getting back to dissociation. So when we're an adult, we check out all the time. And we're not even aware of it, but it affects our relationships. It affects how we do at work. It affects, what we're doing. It affects, how we respond. If we're responding from an inner child, we're not going to be able to function in an adult world. We're going to have problems with our relationship, because let's say something comes up between the couple and one of them just clams up, checks out, whoop, gone, turtles. It's called turtling. That doesn't leave any room for discussion. It doesn't leave any room for growth. It doesn't leave, because this person who's dissociating is trapped literally in their head as a 6-year-old, as a 2-year-old, as a 5-year-old, don't know. This is why it is so important that if you have been through abuse, or if you are in love with somebody who has been through abuse, get them to go see a counselor. See a trauma therapist. Work on the inner child. Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor. CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. The Disease to Please, Harriet Breaker. Facing Codependency by Pia Melody, who just passed away recently. Oh, God. Anyway, God bless her. Anyway, so those are all really good books, because it's dangerous to dissociate as an adult, because it'll ruin relationships. It will. And you want to make sure that you're not avoiding. So part of dissociation is avoiding. We're afraid. So every single client I have ever had, these many years, when we've been working on the abuse, the first thing they tell me is, oh my God, I'm terrified. I don't want to remember. They know stuff happened. They may not know details, but they know stuff happened. And I will reassure them and say, you don't need to know the details. It's enough to know that you know. So you will remember when you are ready and not before, because our brain does that. Our brain literally goes, oh no, you're not ready for this. Nope, I'm not going to let you remember that. I'm going to lock that away. No, thank you. Throw away the key. But then as you start working on your self-esteem workbook by Glenn Schiraldi, and you start working on codependency and CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker, as you get more confident, your brain goes, oh, well, that inner child is starting to grow up. Oh, Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor. Also, Regaining the Inner Child by Lucia Cappuccioni. I always think of cappuccino when I say that name. Anyway, so you do that. You work on those issues. And as the inner child becomes more adult, and you do the mirror work, as it becomes more adult, you're going to start remembering more. And you're going to start dissociating less. But specifically, you need to work on that. What are you avoiding? What topics or what situations causes you to just go boop and check out? And those are the very topics and the very situations you need to work on. You cannot avoid them. So it's kind of like dissociating is, you want to thank your inner child. So a lot of times I have clients that get very angry at their inner child, and I get it. My inner child does stupid stuff too. I got it. But you don't want to punish your inner child. Your inner child is only doing what they know to do to try to keep you safe. And in the past, it may have worked, but as an adult, it doesn't. So you want to help that inner child grow up, and you want to help that inner child feel safe. And you want to give that inner child a way to self-soothe. So self-soothing and talking to your inner child is part of mirror work. So when you're dealing with dissociation and you're dealing with an inner child that's terrified, you want to work the Inner Child Workbook, and you want to do mirror work. So every morning, without fail, go to the mirror, make eye contact with yourself, and you're going to say, hi, good to see you. Have a great day. You know what? It's okay to remember. I know it's scary. I know it is, but I'm right here. I've got you. The adult me is right here, and I'm going to hold your hand, and you're going to be okay. And then you walk out, and you do that every morning without fail. The other thing you can do that I've had clients do is the memories that they do remember. I have them go back and be standing behind their child, how old they were when the abuse happened, and change the memory. So it's like, okay, well, what do you want your older you to do to this person at this time? I want him to shut him up. I want him to tie him up and gag him. Okay, tie him up and gag him. And then let's put him in a balloon and pop him out over the Pacific Ocean and blow him up. There we go. Because that's how little kids deal with things. It's a little bit of magic thinking, but in this case, it's you recognizing you now have power now. You have the ability to change this. Yes, in the past, the abuser was able to come in and do horrible things, but it's like, you know what? Now we can change this. If you have trouble looking in the mirror, thank you for bringing that up. If you have trouble looking in the mirror, don't look in the mirror. But imagine talking to your little one. So what we can do is you go to a safe place, go to a very, 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 very safe place, and you imagine your little one. And the safe place can be anything. It could be a beach, it could be a house, it could be a cabin, it could be a meadow, it could be anywhere where you feel safe, a hammock, whatever. You call your little one to you and you hug them and you kiss them and you tell them how freaking awesome they are and you thank them for getting you to be an adult because they made it. They saved you. They did. Whatever they were doing worked for that time period. Now you're an adult and now you're going to help them. And then you give them that pep talk. You don't necessarily have to go through and face all of the abuse all at once. You don't. It's not an all or nothing thing, guys. This is like little baby steps. So if you're not comfortable looking in the mirror, you just imagine talking to your inner child. Hey, little one, you're awesome. I freaking love you. You got me to an adult. Good job. Thank you. And because it's an and world, dissociating is not going to work anymore. So we need to work on staying in the present moment. I know you're freaked out. I got it. I know, little one. I'm right here. I got your back. I got your six. You're safe. And that's what you want to do. And it's going to take time. This is not going to, Rome was not built in a day. It is going to take time to undo all of the learned behavior and then replace it with the healthier behavior. So you don't have to look in the mirror, especially when you're dealing with seeing the narc's version of you. So this is the fun part. This is where you get to write the narc a go screw you letter. Go pound sand letter. How dare you? So you, dear narcissist, dear abuser, bleep the bleepity bleep bleep out of bleeping bleep you. How bleeping dare you do this? How bleeping dare you make me think that I'm not worthy? How dare you make me think that I'm not good enough? How dare you make me think that I'm not beautiful or handsome or whatever, or, whatever. And you just write it all out and you put it back on the abuser. This is your projection. Because remember, every accusation is a confession. They're talking about themselves. That goes for the government and that goes for our abusers. My dad used to love to tell me I was stupid. Clearly I'm not. So, you know what I'm saying? They project. They put their stuff onto us. So you shove it right back onto them. Then once you're done with that letter, do not mail it. Do not mail it. Do not mail it, okay? It's not going to get you what you think it's going to get you. This letter is just for you and your inner child to tell that abuser to go pound sand. So once you're done writing it, you read it out loud once, you trot it out to the barbecue if you have one, and you set it on fire. And if the abuser is dead, you just, okay, smoke, go to wherever the words need to go to. Heaven or hell, doesn't matter. So that's what you do. You just let it go. You let it go. And you keep working on looking at yourself in the mirror, little tiny baby bits. So when you look in the mirror and this inner critic pops up and starts going, oh, you're this, you're that, you're the other thing, blah, 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 blah. Thank you for your input. Shut the bleep up. Why? Because you say so. You are the boss of this. This is not the boss of you, okay? So try looking in the mirror for tiny, short periods. And every single time you challenge that negative, nasty inner critic. You do not allow it to have the last word. I am smart. I am beautiful. I am kind. I am a good person. I do deserve good things. I have worth. I am. Very powerful. So yes, it is going to be a challenge in the beginning, but I encourage you to take baby steps. If you can, and that thing pops up, challenge it, replace it immediately with the positive, and then give yourself a break and pat yourself on the back. Because what you're doing essentially is you're now challenging the memory, the leftover of the abuser is what you're doing. And the good news is that's the last part of them. Once you kick that mother clucker out, you're done. Pretty much. Now, will my dad's voice occasionally pop into my head when things get really stressful? Yeah, but it's so much easier for me to go, I recognize you, mother clucker. I hear you knocking. Y'all can't come in. Go pound sand. And then I replace it with the polar opposite. So yeah, it's really important to baby step it. Baby step it, baby step it. I don't expect you to be able to look in the mirror the first time. I don't. But I do want you to try. And when I say try, I mean do. You know, but just for brief amount of time so that you can hear the negative voice and then immediately challenge it and immediately replace it with the polar opposite. So when we dissociate, it is so hard to get back into the present moment. And dissociating robs us of joy. It is the thief of joy. It really is. Because we're so in our heads, we're not living in the present moment. And every moment is precious. We're not here on this planet for very long. I know. I mean, we think we are, but, really, in the scheme of things, we're not. And so you want to check in with yourself. Have you been present? I mean, there were times in high school, I remember driving home from high school, and I don't remember getting home. Like, I was checked out. It's like I left the school. I remember leaving the school. I remember getting home. I don't remember the entire drive. And it's not like I wasn't on drugs or high or anything. I just was checked out. I don't remember it, and because, I was getting bullied and all that fun stuff. So, you want to check in with yourself on a daily basis and check and see how present you are. Do you remember most of the day, or were you gone most of the day? Do you remember most of this hour, or were you gone most of this hour? You want to start checking in with that. When someone dissociates, I encourage them to start feeling the air. What does the air feel like on your body? How many colors green do you see in the room? Trying to get them out of their head and back into the present moment. So those are tricks that you can do for yourself. It's like, what do your clothes feel like on your skin? Oh, okay, well, I'm wearing cotton, so it feels nice and cool. Okay, good. So now we're back into kind of the present moment. The other thing you can do is you can rub your legs. You can scratch your leg a little bit. Don't hurt yourself. You can pat your leg, that kind of thing. Those all helped me when I was dissociating really badly. So yeah, it's a thing, and it's a trauma response. It does not mean anything other than you somehow got triggered. So the next part of this is you're going to want to figure out how you got triggered. Where was the trigger? What caused you to check out, go into your head, whatever. Start writing those things down. Seriously, start writing those things down. So for me, I think when I get triggered, it's usually either something that reminds me of my abuser, or it's a situation where I do not feel safe. Okay? Because that is the big thing. For abused people, feeling safe, having an exit is huge. And I don't think a lot of us really understand that. And I don't think a lot of maybe people that we are friends with or maybe are romantic with understand how important having an exit is. Because when we were being abused, we couldn't leave. There was nowhere to go. We were trapped, essentially. And it's important to not put yourself in situations where you cannot easily get out of. So for example, I hate crowds, hate them, especially if it's in an enclosed space. So I remember one year, John and I went to the mall in Glendale in California, and it was packed. It was Christmas, and it was packed, and I started having a panic attack. And at that time, I didn't fully understand what it was. Well, over the years, I've learned, okay, it's because I didn't have a clear exit out, and it felt dangerous to me. So don't ever underestimate the triggers. Don't ever underestimate your need to feel safe. I'm going to say this loud for the people in back, you have the right to feel safe. I'm going to say that again. You have the right to feel safe. Now, I've had some people that I thought were my friends have a fit with me wanting my back to the wall, having an eye on the door. And those people I don't associate with anymore. The people who know me and the people who love me understand I need to have my back to the wall and I need to have a clear exit. So in case anything goes sideways, I can get the hell out. That's just one of the ways that I feel safe. Because how did I leave my abuser? I left. I fled. I fleed? I flew?
Fled.
I fled. Thank you. I fled. So fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, my first instinct is if I can avoid the situation and get the hell out, that's what I'm going to do. If, however, I am trapped in the situation, I'm a fighter. I will go down fighting. I will punch somebody in the throat. So that is what you need to know. You need to know what you fled. Thank you. Somebody else wrote it too. You want to know, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with freeze either. That is just the way we dealt with things. It's whatever worked. So what worked for me was fleeing. What works for other people like Mary and you is freezing. You know, some people get fight, you know, some people fawn. There's nothing wrong with any of the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, but we have to learn to mitigate it, and we have to learn to be flexible. What else is going to keep us safe? What can we do next? What is the next right step? And I think that's really important. And I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. Listen, guys.
Actually, the other question.
What's the other question? I missed it.
It's right above.
It's right above.
How do you stop feeling sympathy?
Oh, how do you stop feeling sympathy for your abuser? Okay. Here's the deal. All of us have been abused. Do we turn around and abuse other people? That would be a hail to the no. It is a choice. It is an absolute choice. They are choosing. And let me take it a step further. Narcissists, antisocial, Machiavellian have no empathy. They do not have that empathy cog. They cannot put themselves in somebody else's shoes. They will not put themselves in somebody else's shoes. They are 100% ego. There is no space in there to get in and work. It's clogged with ego. So it was a choice, honey. It was a choice. They are doing this on purpose. Listen, my dad had multiple opportunities to go to therapy. He actually did go to therapy once. And as soon as my therapist started calling him on it, he came home, he grabbed me by the collar and said, "You're not in therapy. You've never been in therapy. You don't need therapy, and I'm not paying for your therapy." And then I was not allowed to go to therapy again, which is why I left within, I think, 6 months afterwards. He was absolutely delusional. He was absolutely doing it on purpose. He refused to take personal responsibility. Nope. No sympathy. None. Everything they do is a choice. Everything we do is a choice. I choose not to abuse because I know what it feels like. You know, most survivors of abuse choose not to abuse because we know what it feels like. They choose to abuse. They have the option to not be asshats. They choose to be asshats. So that's what I want you to remember. And you write out every rotten thing they've ever done to you. Do normal people hate? Not as far as I know. Do normal people abuse? Not as far as I know. Do normal people hurt, harm, devalue, debase, crush, embarrass, humiliate, shame? Ooh. Shame. This is what shame stands for. Self-harm and mangled emotions. Never go into shame. That was handed to you by an abuser who wanted you to hurt yourself, who wanted you to have mangled emotions. Absolutely not. Guilt is one thing. Guilt is kind of like, ooh, I did wrong. I need to fix this. And then we fix it and then we forgive ourselves and we move on. Shame is where we go, oh my God, I'm a horrible person. I'm awful. I'm terrible. Mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. And we just beat the living crap out of ourselves. Shame is self-harm and mangled emotions. You do not want that. You do not want that. And anyone who hands you shame is trying to unload it out of their head and give it to you. That is not healthy. That is not normal. Normal parents do not do that. Healthy parents do not do that. People who love you do not do that. They do not love. They do not love. They think they do. They don't. Because love is selfless. Love is caring for someone else. Love is making sure they're okay and making sure you're okay, but not in a codependent way. Okay, we'll talk more about that later. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship that is built on respect and kindness. They do not respect anybody, least of all themselves. You don't treat yourself horribly and treat other people horribly. You just don't. That is simply not done. So there's no excuse for their behavior, hon. All of us get caught in that trap of, oh, I feel sorry for them. Well, yeah, I can look at my dad. Okay, here we go. Here's my little Buddhist thought for the day. So Pema Chodron, who is the American Buddhist nun, did a whole thing on the difference between compassion and idiot compassion. Compassion is where we can look at an abuser, like my dad, and go, damn, sucks to be you. Jeez Louise, you're miserable, you're angry, you're full of hate. You hate other people, you hate me, you hate your mom, you hate all women. Wow, sucks to be you. But I'm not going to fix you because it's beyond my means. I can have compassion and see that you're suffering. I see it. And I'm sorry that you're suffering, but I cannot fix you. I can offer you paths, but if you choose not to take them, which they never do, or if they do go to therapy, they'll go 1 to 3 times. And as soon as the therapist goes, and what's your part in this? That's when they go, oh, the therapist doesn't know what they're talking about. Brr, 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 brr. You know, the whole thing. So you can have compassion for them. That soul is suffering. In the Buddhist concept, they're suffering because they have a whole bunch of attachments and they haven't worked on themselves and they're very young souls and they're doing stupid shit, basically. So you can have compassion for them, but that does not mean you have to have them in your life to try to fix them because it's not your job. Look, I'm a good therapist. I can't fix a narcissist. They don't want to be fixed. And there's the difference. People who are not narcissistic want the help and actually act on the help. People who don't pretend, don't do the work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, where was I going with that? I got completely flummoxed. Hold on. Brain gone. Let me get it back. So, what was I talking about? I'm sorry. I'm on vacation, guys. So I'm kind of in vacation mode right now. So my brain is like, go to the beach. I'm like, in a minute. Okay. Sympathy for them. So idiot compassion, that's where I was. Thank you. Idiot compassion is where we look at them and go, oh, they're suffering. They're this, they're that. I need to fix them. I need to have them in my life so I can love them into sanity. No, wrong. Incorrect response. You cannot love them into sanity. There is no there. It is shoved with ego. There is no there. There's no space. It would be lovely. Listen to me, guys. If we could love them into sanity, I could retire. I would. And I'd run a B&B and I'd feed people food and I'd tell them all the fun places to go. And I would love that. It doesn't work that way. You cannot love them into sanity. They don't understand love. Love is respect. Respect is love. If you love somebody, you respect them. If you respect them, you love them. They don't understand love or respect. There's no there. They don't have any empathy. There's no empathy cog. They're psychopaths. I hate to break it to you, but if somebody is a dark triad, they're a narcissist, Machiavellian, psychopath, antisocial. They're usually also sadistic, and they enjoy hurting other people. My dad would get this sick, mother-clucking look on his face, like a smirk, when he was hurting me. He enjoyed it. I have no doubt about that, which is why I can have compassion for how messed up that must be to be you, but you absolutely do not get to be in my life. I moved. When I left home at 17, I moved. I got out of town, got away, went to college, and then I proceeded to move as far away from my family as I possibly could. I never went back because it was dangerous. It would have killed me. Absolutely. So you write out everything they've ever done to you. And then you take a look at, this was a choice. This was a choice. Did they have opportunities to go to therapy? Yeah, they did. Did they go? No. Or if they did, they went 1 to 3 times and then started blaming the therapist. They didn't work on themselves. They didn't do the work. They persisted in the crazy behavior of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. That is the definition of insanity. So when a narcissist does the same crazy behavior, my dad did this. He would hurt everybody in the family and then sit there and piss and whine and moan that nobody wanted to be around him. Gee, mother clucker, I wonder why. Nobody freaking likes you because you're mean and sadistic and you get off on hurting people and nobody wants that. But when we were kids, we were trapped. We had nowhere to go. We had to put up with it. And it's the weirdest thing. Narcissists simultaneously hate us, but yet won't let us leave. That's crazy. That is crazy. Because you would think if they hated somebody, they would want them gone. But they wanted the power and they wanted the control. And that's why all my clients are getting triggered right now in this country. So you do not feel sorry for them. You can have compassion for them, but do not have idiot compassion. Do not. Write out everything they did. Remind yourself, it's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice. They did this on purpose. It's a choice. And you let it go. You cannot fix them. I cannot fix them. You cannot fix them. You know, it would literally, I'm not kidding you, it would take a literal biblical proportion event to fix them. And I'm talking like miracle, like wonder of wonders, miracle of miracles. You see where I'm going with that? So yeah, and that's not going to happen. So anyway, all right. Any other questions? Did I miss anything? Was that good? Okay. So dissociation. If you are dissociating, get with a good trauma therapist, please. Take good care of yourself. Note what causes you to dissociate. What is happening? What is going on when you dissociate? What's the trigger? You want to know what your triggers are. Are we allowed to write it out so they can at least reflect and then tell them their fate? Nope. Absolutely. What do you think is going to happen? Seriously. If you tell a narcissist what they are doing, they're going to punish you. That is the most dangerous thing you can do. You absolutely go no contact with them. They know what their fate is. They do. On some level, they do. Every accusation is a confession. Every nasty thing they've ever said to you is a projection of who they are. They don't reflect, darling. You're not hearing what I'm saying. There's no there. When I literally say there is no there is no there here. There's nothing up there except ego. So ego is what drives all of the bad behavior. They have to make themselves feel good. They hate themselves to the core. That is never going to change. There is something fundamentally wrong with them. They are never going to change. They don't have the compassion, not for other people, not for themselves. I can only imagine with my dad, I can tell you his inner critic must have been, like this other person said, almost demonic. Seriously. Because it was nasty. And he was constantly spewing what he felt about himself all over the family. So ego and reflection cannot exist in the same space. In order to reflect, you have to have humility. Narcissists do not have humility. They have hubris. They think that they are the greatest thing since sliced bread. They really do. And they absolutely will not admit to anything they've ever done wrong. My dad actually has said on multiple occasions, oh, I'm not lost. I'm just temporarily confused. This is when he used to take us on road trips and then we'd end up in the middle of a forest, high-centered on a creek somewhere. Dear God. Anyway, I'm not lost. I'm just temporarily confused. Or I'm never wrong. I'm just mistaken. Never apologized. Never admitted to anything, even when it was heinous. So let me give you an example. As an adult, I was over 18 at this point. He had no control over me. As an adult, he cornered me one time when I went to go visit my mom. And I was out doing laundry, and the laundry room was outside. And he cornered me, and he was like, I know what you're doing in your apartment. You're sleeping around. You're a whore. You're this. You're that. And I'm sitting there listening to this going, first of all, none of your damn business. Second of all, no. Third of all, why do you care? It was the weirdest thing. And he was accusing me. Every accusation is a confession. He was accusing me of all of this stuff. And I stood up to him. And I basically looked at him and I said, how dare you? I didn't care at that point whether he hit me or not. I was fully expecting it. I said, how dare you? And then I told him I was still a virgin. I stayed a virgin until I was 22 because I was so terrified of having sex because they made it so weird. I wasn't really allowed to date. I wasn't allowed to be a normal teenager. It was just bad. So, I was like, look, I'm still a virgin and it's none of your damn business. And how dare you? And don't you ever speak to me that way again. And momentarily, I could see the shame come into his head. And it wasn't because of me. I was simply defending myself and basically drawing a boundary. Not once did he apologize. What father speaks to their daughter that way? Seriously. So, yeah, they don't apologize. They don't have humility. They don't have reflection abilities. What they will do is if you point things out, and then he did try to punish me later on. He did. He was like, well, I'm not going to help you with college. I'm not going to pay for this class or whatever. I'm like, fine, a-hole. I'm a freaking caterer. I can make the money. So, they do that. They will punish. They will find ways to punish you. So absolutely do not write this stuff down and hand it to them. You are basically signing your own death warrant. Do not do that. Do not. I cannot tell you the number of times clients have said, oh, I want to send the letter to them. No, Do not. It's going to have the opposite effect. This letter is not for them. It is for you. It is for you and your inner child. That is it. It is not for them. They won't get it. There's no there. So they went ahead and sent it, and yeah, they then punished them. You betcha. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, there was a question. Why do narcs have weird obsessions with their kids and sex lives? Because they are twisted. They are twisted. My dad was obsessed with all of our sex lives because it was 4 girls and 1 boy. And so he was obsessed with all of our sex lives. And he made bizarre comments. I mean, he would comment on my breasts or my body or my sister's breasts or her body. He would go barging into the bathroom when my sister was taking a shower, and he would just stand there and laugh maniacally because she was upset because he was standing there leering at her. And he tried to do that to me. That was right towards the end, right when I left. And I started locking the door. And what he did is he damn near broke down the door. So why are they obsessed with us and our sex lives? Because we are objects. Their children are all objects, including my brother. We're all objects to them. We have no more meaning to them than this cell phone. Once the battery is dead, toss. That's what, I wish I had a pen. That'd be a better example. But, once the ink is out, toss. We are objects to them to be used for their pleasure. That is what we are to them. It's not a normal relationship. It's not like father-daughter, protective kind. Oh, thank you. Pen. Once the pen's ink is gone, they toss. So, yeah, we are objects to them to be used for their own pleasure. It's not a normal relationship. It's not a protective relationship. Most dads that I've had the pleasure of talking to love their kids, protect their kids, enjoy their kids, understand that they're only going to be little for so long. The hue and cry of my father was, I can't wait till you're 18 and I can cut you off. Why the hell did you have children? Seriously. So yeah, they don't like us. They don't. They want us dead. They do. So yeah, that's why they have a weird obsession, because we're objects. They don't view us as people that are sentient, that have emotions, that have desires, that have needs, that have wants. They don't. We are there for their amusement. That's it. Because they're not right. So there's that. Okay. How to respond to the recent negative responses with children going no contact with their parents as it being not warranted. Generally, the people who say it's not warranted have not been through abuse, have not had their father try to, sexually assault them, have not had their father or their mother beat the living crap out of them. They haven't been there. They haven't done that. They don't know. The best thing I ever did was go exceedingly low contact. Exceedingly low contact. I don't think I ever went no contact completely, but I went call them once a month, once every other month, every couple of months, that kind of thing. The people who say that, first of all, what business is it of yours? Second of all, if you have not walked in my shoes, sit the hell down and shut the fuck up. Seriously. Because if you haven't been abused, if you haven't been raped, if you haven't been harmed, if you haven't been attacked, you have no business telling me how to do my business. Boundaries like a boss, my loves. Boundaries like a boss. And the other thing that I see people throwing out is, honor thy mother and father. It's a two-way street. If you read the Bible, the very next line says, parents, do not bring your children to anger. It's a two-way street. But again, narcissists cherry pick what they're going to pull out to shame, self-harm, and mangled emotions the other person. I want you to remember that. Anyone who shames you, that's their intent. Self-harm and mangled emotions. That's what shame stands for. So yeah, you do not listen to them. That is a red flag. That is so many red flags. That is a red flag looking like a communist parade. So when somebody does that, I immediately am like, next on my you're not speaking to me list. I will cut them out. I absolutely will cut them out. If they start saying anything about, oh, your dad, oh, your mom. And thankfully, I didn't get that because people knew my dad was bat shimomo crazy. The first book I ever wrote was called What's Wrong with Your Dad? I got that title because a woman came up to me to Spruce's Drugs in Gridley, California, and walked up to me and said, oh, you're Bob's daughter. What's wrong with your dad? And I was like, oh, crap. I was like, well, have a few hours. And I just left because I wasn't going to engage. But yeah, that's where I got the title of my book. People know they're nuts. People know they're not normal. They're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and not in a good way. So anyway, that is why we dissociate. Seriously, because of all the shame, because of all the abuse, because of all the physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, religious abuse, you name it. But we must be present in our own lives because we have to advocate for ourselves. And if our inner child is running the show, we're not going to advocate for ourselves. We're going to turtle, and we're going to freeze, and we're going to flee, and we're not going to advocate for ourselves. Silence only benefits the abuser. Speak up, speak out, not just for yourself, but for other people. So for me personally, I will not go to any of the protests because the level of rage I have towards my abuser, if someone like him came up to me, I could probably kill him with my bare hands. You betcha. So I don't go to the protests. But what I do is I call my senators every day. Every day. Whatever's going on, I call because I see abuse happening to other people, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let it happen on my watch. I know what I went through. I know what that feels like. I don't want anyone to ever have to go through that again. I don't care whether they're immigrants. I don't care whether they're legal or illegal. They're human beings, first and foremost. And if you're a Christian, a real Christian, you would honor that and you would know that. And you would protect them. There endeth the rant. All right, guys, next week we are going to be talking about they eat their young. So we're going to be talking about how they pick the golden child, how they pick the scapegoat, and that it can change. So that's why the constant upset, and that's why there's never any feelings of being settled in the family. So yeah, you want to protect yourself against any predator, and you want to protect other people because no one was there for me. I am going to be there for somebody else. So there it is. All right, my loves, you guys be good. Oh, wait, there was one more question. How can we heal ourselves after an attack, or how do we pick up the leftover pieces of ourselves after being psychologically damaged? Okay, here's the deal. We do get psychologically damaged. We absolutely do. Sometimes we get physically damaged. So you get with a good therapist. You get all of the books that I have recommended. CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. It is on Audible. I cannot stand the guy who does the reading because, oh my God, nails on a chalkboard. But sometimes it helps to get the books and then listen to it on Audible at the same time. It kind of double whammies it in there. Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. They've taken our self-esteem away from us. You need to rebuild it. Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker, which is about codependency. Facing Codependency by Pia Melody. The Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor, or Regaining the Inner Child by Lucia Cappuccioni. And Mirror Work. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. You know what? Your abuser was a liar. They were wrong. You are a good person. I like you. I like spending time with you. So good to see you. Please have a good day. And then walk out. And you do that every day, 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 every day. Absolutely. You do that. Ah, I love it. I love the protest sign. That's awesome. So yeah, absolutely. You do that. So take good care of yourselves, guys. It's all about self-care. Drink plenty of water, get exercise, do something fun. It's unrelenting BS right now. Do something fun. Take care of yourself. Color in a coloring book. Go fly a kite. Go ice skating. Go roller skating. Go for walks. Get back into nature. Play with your dogs. Play with your cats. Have fun. Do something fun. Remember that you have the right to be a human being first and foremost and to take care of yourself. All right, my loves, we will talk about they eat their young next week. All right, be good. See you later. Bye.